My strawberry kisses, I could fly through the wind.
Hi there, my name's Alex and today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute berry bee. The things you'll need for this project are some yarn, a hook, a pair of scissors, a needle, some fibre fill, safety eyes or felt, embroidery cotton or yarn, and felt and fabric glue. Now for this tutorial I'll be using milk cotton yarn, which is about a DK weight, and a 3.5mm hook, but I'll also put some suggestions for other yarns that you could use in the description box so that you can make those big chunky bees if that's what you're after. Now as I'm making a raspberry bee, I'm using a pinky red colour, a maroon and a lime green. So we'll start by making the bee's face, and you want to grab your main colour and create a magic ring. Then work 6 single crochet stitches into the magic ring. You can tighten the magic ring a little, but don't make it super tight yet. I'm going to show you a little trick which I call a transition, which is joining the very first single crochet that you created in that round. So we're going to work under that very back loop of the first stitch. So there's a front loop and a back loop. You're going to insert the hook under the back loop, pick up some yarn and pull it through that loop and the loop on your hook. That way we've completed the whole circle, but we haven't started a round. So for round 2, you're going to work 6 increases. So that is 2 single crochet stitches into every stitch space. And you start by going under the front and back loop of that very first stitch that you transitioned to. After you've transitioned and you've created your first stitch in that round, you can then tighten the magic ring. On to round 3. Now before you start, you're going to transition join, and I want you to do that in every single round of this pattern. So round 3 will be 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and you repeat that 6 times round. If you're enjoying this tutorial so far, please give it a like and consider subscribing for some more really fun creative content. On to round 4, you'll be creating 2 single crochet stitches and 1 increase, repeating that pattern 6 times round, giving you 24 stitches. For round 5, you'll be creating 3 single crochet stitches, 1 increase, and you're repeating that pattern 6 times round, giving you 30 stitches. Round 6 is 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeating that pattern 6 times round, giving you 36 stitches. On to round 7, that's 5 single crochets, 1 increase, 6 times round, giving you 42 stitches. And if you've got a great idea for a project you'd like to see a tutorial for, or a pattern for an amigurumi, please leave a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And on to round 8, which is 6 single crochets, 1 increase, repeating that pattern 6 times round, giving you 48 stitches. And this round is the last of our increasing rounds. Round 9 is simply single crochet all the way around, 48 stitches, and it's the last of the bee's face, and we're going to start our striping next. Now at the end of round 9 we're going to incorporate the new coloured yarn for our stripe. So you undo the very last single crochet stitch you created, and what we're going to do is insert the hook and create half of the single crochet stitch. So yarn over, pulling it through, and then we're going to put the new yarn colour onto our hook and pull that through and complete the single crochet stitch. Now you can pull the two yarn tails just to firm up that stitch a little bit and transition over to the new colour. And then from there we're going to be doing a single crochet stitch, then tightening our two tails just by tying a couple of knots to keep those firmly in place. Don't tie it too tightly, you want to make sure that the stitches look like they're natural on the front of your crochet project. So from there on in we've got 3 rounds of single crochet all the way around, 48 stitches. And every time there's a colour change, I want you to do the same process, which is the very last stitch, undoing it and incorporating the new colour halfway through. Well, that was super quick. Now that striping is looking really nice and clean. We're going to undo that last stitch and incorporate the main colour back into our crochet. Now because we haven't cut the yarn off, we can just bring up the new yarn from behind. So half a single crochet stitch, bringing up our main colour from behind, incorporating that in, and then we will just transition. Then rounds 13 and 14 are single crochet stitches all the way around. Then for rounds 15, 16 and 17 you'll be using the stripe colour, bringing that up from behind in your work, incorporating into the last stitch of round 14 and transitioning, and then single crochet around for the next 3 rounds. Rounds 18 and 19 we'll be changing back over to our main colour and single crocheting all the way around, giving you 48 stitches. On to rounds 20, 21 and 22, we're swapping back over to our stripe colour. This will be the last stripe of our bee, and single crocheting around for the next 3 rounds. And now that we've completed round 22, it's the last of our stripe. We can cut our yarn off just for the stripe colour, and check out how gorgeous that transitioning has worked. Our stripes are beautiful and continuous, no jolts. Now's the perfect time to start working on our bee's face. The felt eyes and stitched cheeks could be added later, but we're going to add the little mouth and safety eyes now. Now I've put a little row of template up the top of the screen. Later on in the video there will be templates for you to use to cut out your felt, if that helps you. Also, I just want to take this opportunity to let you know that I have 4 different tutorials of 4 different size bees. So at the moment with the Berry Bee, that is the big size, which is 48 stitches around, but I also have smaller sizes and a larger size. So they're worth checking out if you like this pattern. So we're going to create the bee's mouth. I'm using some embroidery cotton, but you can just use yarn, whatever you have available to you in the right colour. Cut yourself a length of your yarn, thread your needle, and make sure that your crochet work, all the transition joins are at the bottom of your work. Even though they're not very visible, you still want to keep that at the least obvious place or part of your bee. So keeping that at the bottom, I'm inserting the needle through the inside part of my bee's face, just holding onto the tail so it doesn't go too far, and I'm bringing it out at one side of the smile and then inserting the needle into the other side of the smile. Then I'm going to bring the needle out a couple of times, actually 3 times in 3 different stitch places, just to go over that little curve of yarn and keep it in place. So over the yarn and then back through the same hole, out again, over the yarn, back through that same hole. Then I'll turn the bee's face inside out, or the bee inside out, and just tie those 2 tails together, and then that smile ain't going anywhere. Time to add the safety eyes if you're using safety eyes. I like to count about 4 rounds out from the very centre, and almost in line with the center. Usually just say maybe 1 stitch up higher, because it gives me enough of the space to be able to put little cheeks into place. If you put the eyes down too low, you run out of space to put little felt cheeks. So by inserting my crochet hook and just giving it a wiggle, I can get to see exactly where that position is. It's easier to insert the little safety eye. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So with the felt that I've got, I decided to use the same colour or very similar colour to the stripe and cut out 2 little hearts for the cheeks. And just checking the size and making sure that the face all looks in proportion. And when you're happy with that, you can add the backs onto your safety eyes. Don't put the backs on before you're super ready, because they are so hard to get off. Yeah, so just make sure you're really happy with that position. And now we're on to round 23. Woohoo! The bee's behind. So round 23, after you've changed your yarn to the main colour, you're going to single crochet all the way around, which is 48 stitches. And on to round 24, which will be 6 single crochets, 1 invisible decrease. We repeat that pattern 6 times around, giving you 42 stitches. Now, if you don't know how to do an invisible decrease, I've tried to show you pretty clearly here how it works. So I'm just creating my 6 single crochets. Now, what I'm going to do is pick up the very front loops of the next 2 stitches. So see that there's just a front loop of both of those. So going under both of those front loops, it's 1 and 2, yarn over and through those 2 loops, yarn over and back through the next 2 loops. So it's very similar to a normal single crochet, but you're just incorporating 2 stitches and making it into 1. Now I'll show that again. Hook through the front 2 loops, yarn over and through those 2 loops, yarn over and through the remaining 2 loops. On to round 25, that's 5 single crochets, 1 invisible decrease, 6 times round, giving you 36 stitches. Round 26 is 4 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeating that pattern 6 times round, giving you 30 stitches. Round 27, 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeating that 6 times round, giving you 24 stitches. It's time to fill your bee with some lovin' stuffin'. Now don't overfill your bee too much at this point because there's another opportunity to add some more fibre fill later on. So you want to keep that fibre away from where you're crocheting because otherwise it's very easy to get hooked into the work and then you end up with this white, fibre fill that you can't get rid of between all your stitches. On to round 28, 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, 6 times round, giving you 18 stitches. And round 29 is single crochet, decrease, repeating that 6 times round, reducing it down to just 12 stitches. And time for a little bit more polyfibre fill, a little bit more love and stuffing. Just pop that around the corner, make sure that you got the bees behind nice and padded out. And again, just making sure that your fibre fill is away from the very last section where you're crocheting. And on to round 30, which is the very last round of the bee's body, 6 decreases. So hey, have you liked this video yet? I hope so, and I really hope you consider subscribing too, because I have got so many fantastic ideas to share with you, and I don't want you to miss out. Okay, it's time to trim that yarn and pull it through the loop and thread it onto a needle. We're about to close him up. By inserting the needle into each of the remaining 6 stitches and then pulling it firmly, you'll close up that hole. And then just hide the tail of the yarn by weaving it in and out of the bee-hind. Then trim off the excess. Now it's time to glue the little heart cheeks on your bee. If you're adding felt eyes, now is also the time to add the felt eyes and the little highlights if you wanted to do that. Now here's the template that I'm putting up. You can screenshot that if you like, and it's for the felt shapes to go on the bee's behind, the eyes and the cheek. Time to grab your felt and cut out all your fruity little accessories for your bee and the heart cheeks and the felt eyes if you're adding those. And we're going to glue them on using a general purpose craft or fabric glue. By adding the little heart cheeks, I think it really makes the bee come to life. Now this step is entirely optional, but I like to mark the center of my bee, so I make sure that I attach the little fruit symbol on his bee-hind the right way. There'd be nothing worse than having an upside down raspberry. Oh, so fruity and cute. Now on to making the wings. Now I've chosen lime green because I think it makes the raspberry have a really cute kind of fresh leafy look, but white looks fantastic too. So grab your yarn for your wings and create a magic ring. And we're going to work 6 single crochet stitches into the magic ring. Transition join, and we're going to work 6 increases around, so that's 2 stitches into each of the stitch spaces, which will give you 12 stitches at the end of round 2. If you make any of the projects that I have in my tutorials, please share them with me on Instagram. I would love to see them. Just hashtag your post with Make It with Alex. Now for round 3, single crochet increase, repeat that 6 times around, giving you 18 stitches at the end of round 3. Now there is only one more round to go on the wing, but you'll have to make 2 wings. Now for round 4, you're going to increase in the first stitch space, then work 16 single crochets, then an increase. But don't transition, we've got one little extra thing we have to do. Now that one last thing we had to do, there's a weird gap that happens every time you finish a round, but before you transition, there's a funny space between the very last stitch of your round and the very first stitch of your round. I want you to single crochet into that stitch space and then slip stitch to the very first single crochet. It gives the wing a really nice shape without having to do too much shaping with your crochet stitches. So cut your yarn and pull that yarn tail through the loop and then make another wing. So we're going to add our wings onto our bee's back. Now what I want you to do is to mark the front of the bee's face, the middle, with a pin, a needle, a piece of yarn, a crochet hook, a bobby pin, whatever you have available to you, and then take that up to also mark the bee's back. This is just so that we can make sure that our wings are positioned centrally to our bee's body. Thread the middle tail where you started with your magic ring from the wing and weave it in and out of the stitches till you bring it over to the edge where the other tail is. And then we're going to use that tail just to attach it to the bee's body. Now I like to leave roughly about a 1 or 2 stitch space between each of the wings, and that pin really helps me position that wing into place. Bring the yarn through to the back of your wing where the other tail is, tighten a couple of knots, trim it, and then weave that little tail of yarn through into the bee's body so it's all hidden and neat and tidy. That's looking great. So time to do that with the other wing. So I've made a raspberry bee, and I've also made a strawberry and blueberry bee, but you could use any fruit as inspiration for your design bee. Can you imagine how cute a kiwi fruit one would be? I know I've made a watermelon tutorial, so if you want to make a watermelon bee, you could check that out. I think they just look deliciously sweet. They are the cutest little creations. And try stopping at one, really. Now I'm really happy with the designs and how they've turned out, but let's see how my little dog Piglet is with them. See if she loves them too. Oh, Piglet. I think Piglet finds them a little bit too sweet and delicious. This tutorial is definitely Piglet approved. Thanks so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful and maybe a little bit fun too. If you did, please like and comment and consider subscribing to show your support. I would really appreciate it. Also, remember to be kind to one another and most of all, stay awesome.
Hey.